We have Phil Cook from Phil Cook and the Fall Dogs with us today here on Indie T, Demos to Discovery. And I was listening to his stuff last night. You were working with Mark Anthony G. Can you tell me a little bit about that collaboration?
Mark Anthony G's played classical guitar for years, public performances in halls with accompanists, etc. He approached us, I guess, last spring and played with us throughout the summer. Did a live gig with us and some recordings. Moved on to other projects now, and I guess that deserves some explanation. Contemporary musicians aren't as married to the group that that they're associated with. I mean, 50
Everyone's
years
doing
ago.
everyone's doing so many collaborations these days with the
Right.
advent of the
And
DAW.
now it's very fluid to the point where I was reading a post the other day on Facebook of a local uh, musician, very well accomplished, been around for more years than he'd probably like me to say, and he was being very, was feeling very disgruntled about it. That the bands used to be loyal, and now it's just so fluid. And I suppose there's good and bad to it, or there is some bad to it, I guess.
In what way?
Personally,
What do you think the pros and cons are?
with any organization, you build this tribal conversation, i.e., a culture. I mean, there are different theories in organizational behavior, but to some degree, there's a strength built up and a commonality and an efficiency in sort of that tacit knowledge. So I know what this guy's thinking about this rhythm, and I know where he's going with this bass line, and so I'm able to fit myself in more easily. Alternatively, the groupthink thing becomes a very real and present danger.
What do
And
you
so
mean?
what I mean by that is,
Yeah.
firefighters who have been fighting fires for 20 years all of a sudden won't obey the command to retreat from a fire because they've never had to retreat from a fire before.
So, Phil, your origin story. You won your first guitar in a poker game at the age of what, 11 or 12, which you said to
And
me was beginner's luck in our conversation. What do you remember about that moment? And did you have any idea that that instrument would become the central part of your life?
yeah, I don't know whether I would call it the central part of my life, considering my ability to play it. But I was in a group, certainly not my peers. The folks that were playing cards were old enough to play the cards, and I wasn't.
Were,
I,
were you in one of those subversive backroom games?
yeah, well, I was for whatever reason. Yeah, I have been there and done that for a good portion of my life, including bands. Uh, so the question was, I digress. Did I know at that moment? No, I don't think particularly. Did I lust after that crappy little electric guitar from Sears catalog? Probably. Did I didn't join the game knowing anything about the game for one
Oh, you didn't
thing.
know anything about poker and you won?
Yeah, well, it was blackjack. You
Oh,
don't. You
blackjack.
only have
I
to
don't know
sort
why I
of be able
remember
to
poker.
identify four colors, or not, sorry, two colors and four suits, and and be able to count to 21. So it was just very, very lucky that I borrowed the money to get into the game, actually.
Well,
So
you grew up in a family where your father sang in a choir, your mother played piano,
yeah,
and she also sang in a choir.
right,
And your
right.
grandfather had that Stewart Arch top guitar your sister Janice
Right.
famously absconded with.
Yeah,
How
yeah.
did growing up in a musical household shape your ear and your drive to play?
Yeah, I don't it wasn't particularly formal, um it certainly is something that I reflect on often, because quite often musicians, even with the newer material, uh, will ask me where do you come up with these chord progressions? Like, why do you use this? Why do you
I
use that?
like your music. You are very unusual in your genre.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you. It's kind of you to say. It's and I think it is from listening to so much, a very vast variety of music. Before I could even purchase my own music, before I had, was old enough, I was exposed to, obviously, choir music. My father was a soloist, sang at weddings and such, for money, and so he would sing around the house all the time. But also, he was a very big fan of Broadway and musicals, and played Gigi and Oliver and things like this.
My dad used to
Constantly.
sing Barbara Streisand around the house.
Right, right.
He was 51 when I was born. My mother was 28. And, you know, I was obviously three generations in a
Yeah,
tiny little nuclear family.
right. So yeah, so all these show tunes and hymns and soloists and music. We had a piano. My sister played piano, danced ballet, and
Really? I love
yeah,
ballet.
yeah. She was very good, very good. But you age out of that. The environment was very musical, and yet it wasn't concentrated musically, other than to say, here, this is a metronome. Like, if you're going to learn to play piano, which I really didn't enjoy doing, you have to play it in time. Back. And
Yes. Okay. You know,
yeah. So she would bring home Neil Young and Janis Joplin, Joe Cocker, and all these fantastic bands. Really, really.
that's what you were telling me about your influences, like Neil Young, Joni Mitchell, Chrissie Hynde, the Cranberries, David Bowie, one of my favorites.
Right. Yeah.
Deep Purple,
With, I
Chicago.
think, I was listening to your show, and the gentleman from Mostly Blue was saying the same thing, and we're kind of around the same age. Categorization is a marketing development. It's not a musical development. I mean, if you listen to Frank Zappa
Mm.
throughout his career, you're not going to be able to pick a genre. You're going to be able to pick a bucket full of genres. And
He created his own genre. I mean,
yeah,
I've actually looked at sheet music from Frank Zappa, and I
right.
read sheet music, and I couldn't play his stuff. No way.
That's it. He has one song called Black Pages, which refers to studio musicians who are their greatest fear is to walk in and the notes are so dense that it just looks like a black page.
I was just like, I thought Emerson, Lake and Palmer was complicated. Frank
Right.
Zappa, he can give John Williams a run for his money.
Yeah. It's very the time signatures, etc. Shift and
Yes,
beautiful music.
exactly. I mean, I one of my favorite prog rock bands is Yes, and I've read some of their sheet music, and that's very complicated stuff, like a song, for example, like Close to the Edge. But
Absolutely.
when you look at Frank Zappa's material, I was just thinking, and it's so bizarre when you hear him, it makes so much sense when you're hearing it. When you're looking at it on the page, it's just like a black dots of nightmares.
Yes.
Where does he think of this stuff? It was bizarre. But
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think he's one of the geniuses of our time. And
Absolutely.
in the
Absolutely.
days when you were in your teens, did you tell me that you were playing in bars already and that in the early 70s in Ontario?
Yeah, before it was legal to get into them, based on the drinking age, which probably at the time I was 19 years old, maybe 21 even. Small town, you would know the bartenders or whatever. They'd let you in just because they wanted the tips. So but we would get in there and have nurse a draft beer and watch the band and bug them during their breaks. Hey, we play. Let us come up and play. And we sort of cut our teeth on that. Some of the bands just thought it was a joke. These young kids in this bar. You guys shouldn't even be in here, let alone be playing music. And we're like, well, breaking into bars. I can remember we had a sax player slash bass player slash. I think he was 14 when he first performed with the Hamilton Philharmonic as a pianist. When he played with us in bars quite regularly, and we just sort of just had to say, "Well, he just looks very young." It's okay. Yeah.
You were and this is something you and I have in common. I took a hiatus from music for about 30 years. So you took this sort of hiatus from the Fall Dogs project. I think you said that you sort of picked it up after 35 years as a fallback plan. What is it that, like I told you, what pulled me away? What pulled you away from music for so long? And then what brought you back in?
Yeah. So, I mean, well, as is the story with most people, with most artists, most artists, it's necessary to have shelter and
Pay the
and
bills.
food and air and water and
Pay the
and
bills.
funny things like that. Mozart, for example, died penniless, without a grave. That's how
Exactly.
poor Mozart was. You
Good
know, so
example.
so we have never compensated artists properly when one considers the externalities that are created by art. And I'm not talking about just music. I'm talking about all art. We can't quantify it, so it doesn't become something that's life sustaining generally.
Well, I know,
And
like, most of us are not Vincent van Gogh and will cut off our ear over the fact that, we just can't seem to get it together.
yeah, well, for every ear cut off by for every Vincent Van Gogh, there are probably dozens of ears cut off, and people working, going back to more menial vocations. So that it's just the grim reality, and that'd be what I mean. I would want to put forth. I mean, the focus of your show isn't on, the history of these geezers who are still making music. I think,
Actually, what I'm trying to do is create community amongst us. So the struggling artists, at my age, I'm still a struggling artist. And what
right,
we need
right,
to do is come together so that we can understand these ever-changing algorithms, because we don't have marketing budgets like record companies, and we can't put ourselves, it's like, oh yeah, I'll drop 10 grand on that marketing campaign. No, I don't have that kind of money, and I'm sure you don't either.
yeah. Well,
So
and so the takeaway here, I think, is that I mean, before the algorithms, nobody had the money either. It was a different, more difficult pathway to get music even heard, so to speak. Very difficult to make a living. Live music was always, path of least resistance to making some money. Um,
Well,
but
Vanessa
it,
Tuttle,
it
I don't know if
was,
you saw the episode with Vanessa. She's from Auckland, New Zealand. She's a
yeah,
great believer in playing live. And then John from Whiskey Club, he was also talking about Spotify and Meta now taking genomic fingerprints of our music so that when we're hearing, like, we don't even have to look for artists who sound like us, because these algorithms are putting us into categories without us even checking off a genre.
I don't know that that's particularly a great thing, frankly. I mean, it's riddled with problems, and they're definitely not built to serve an artist. And so if you believe that the company is collecting data on songs, I agree. I think they are. If they are firing genres at people, or what they believe are genomic genres at folks, that's good. But that presupposition there is that folks listen to the same music.
That also kind of comes down to what we're talking about here. And I think your opinion has a lot of validity. You're right that it's not necessarily a good thing, but in a way, do you think it might be putting us in front of new listeners that may stream our music? Now, I was looking at your Spotify channel. You're very successful. You have a lot of followers. You have, quite a few monthly listeners for an indie artist. I'm nowhere near you guys. Okay. That's why I always have people on the show who are more successful than me and smarter than me, because I'm learning as we go along here. And people like you and John, who are much more popular than me.
Possibly, it's difficult to say if it's is it the metrics are there, and
That's Spotify. YouTube,
yeah,
I'm doing well on YouTube, not so well on Spotify.
Right.
I haven't, I don't even know how to check all the numbers for all of those streaming platforms that DistroKid sends me to. I don't even know all of that yet. I'm still learning the
Right, right. Yeah. So I mean, and these are metrics that are very difficult to dissect. Uh, define your objectives. Make sure they're achievable, measurable.
Walk me
Correct.
through your creative process. Like, does a song typically start with a riff, a lyric, a feeling, and then how do you know when it's finished? Because you're so consistent with your style.
I start with an idea. Generally, it's a hook, and it's a melody hook. From that point on, flesh it out with some interesting. The melody hook usually guides the entire song. If you're thinking about a social or socio-political topic, the bully box, for example, because you wanted to talk about that a little bit. The bully box is about poor management. It's a lot of people are out there working in jobs that they hate. Managers quite often, management is not interested in anything but slotting them into categories, genres, if you will, and
Speaking of genres,
yeah,
where in the world do you come up with your album names? Woshu, Mandarin, which is Mandarin for shake someone's hand.
correct,
Um,
yeah.
Ni, I don't know
Ni
if I'm
hao, ni hao is
Ni
hello.
hao, ni hao. And Yi, ki,
Yishi,
yi,
yishi,
she. Q is she. Okay, see, I don't speak Mandarin.
yishi means
What's the
together.
story? What's the story? What's up with this whole convention of the Chinese names?
I don't know. I mean, it piqued your interest, didn't it? I mean,
It did. I was like, well, how does he come up with this stuff?
yeah. Well, a lot of the humans on the planet speak Mandarin. A little trivia piece or a little interest piece. You can struggle a lot with album titles. The album is almost a thing of the past. The way people are marketing their music now, the systems, the streamers, the radio stations, the YouTubers, they don't favor long play collections of music. They favor singles.
That's
That
what I've been doing. That's why I've been
because
releasing singles.
yeah, singles are best, and that way you don't get strapped down into, well, this artist is this genre. You get, this artist is plays this genre, this genre, this genre, this genre, and you can then sort of promote your single and point it in the direction of, okay, well, this is more like psychobilly by the algorithm, because they'll say, okay, Phil Cook, the listener listens to a lot of Phil Cook and the Fall Dogs, but he also listens to da 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 da. The tea time is going to come up
Oh,
in that
NDT.
section.
Two-time
Tea time,
NDT.
right? Pardon my ignorance. Right. Fire
So
when ready.
after being the sole creative force in the studio, what was it like to bring back, James, Brad, Lishman, Bill, am I saying this right? Bill Marchant?
Yeah, I would say Marchand. I think he's English though. I think it's Marchant.
How does it feel? How's the energy feel change when you kind of plugged in the Fall Dogs together again?
Right. So the project started out. How do you make $1 million at being a musician? Start with 2 million and play until you've got a million left. So I had the opportunity to get back.
Thank you for exaggerating that for us.
So I have the opportunity to get back in. It was either sell the equipment or use the equipment. I couldn't, it would break my heart to sell it. So started using the equipment, started writing again, pulled out a bunch of old songs that I had. Some of these songs that are online now are
I love Hello, Hello.
40
Hello,
years
Hello
old.
was really good. I was listening to that one like 5 times last night.
Right. Well, thank you. That's fantastic. I would encourage that. Go back and do 5 more.
Well, I was looking at what was like super popular, and I listened to those first, but then I like to go and listen to the stuff that had like only 2,500 or 4,500. You got a song that's got 15,000 streams. I'm like, God, I am so behind here.
Well, that's the first one, so don't get too depressed.
How
Uh,
long has that been out?
that's been out a month. Well, sorry, a little over a month. Was released on December 1st.
I've got stuff that's been out since May, and I don't have that many.
Well, that's a holiday song. It's Spotify grabbed those holiday songs and they do all the work for you.
Well, you also have a larger following, as I was telling you. I haven't even hit 30 yet on Spotify, but that's
Right.
because I was out of the industry for so long, and my stuff is not consistent like yours.
Well, yeah, I
Instrumental
mean,
vocals.
you have to. Yeah, one has to, I believe, uh, be on a cycle. So you have to be a project manager. You have to get yourself a Google calendar.
Oh, time management is something that's my resolution. People
Yeah.
do New Year's resolutions. I take those in small bites. My resolution this year is time management.
Right. Right.
Oh, I have a hard time with that.
Yeah. 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 Pardon the pun. The yeah. So I mean, you have to time these things out, and you have to supply a little bit of logic, and it's sort of a cascading system. So this is my time to write. Hopefully, you're writing more than one song at a time. Maybe you're writing five
Like I said,
songs.
I got 17 in the can, but I've got to mix them properly.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so then you have to sort of plug all that stuff in, and
And you
and
must have to juggle a lot having, James, Brad, Bill, all these people. You got to get them together, right?
right.
Or
Absolutely.
do you also do the collaborative efforts where like you'll do a couple of tracks, put them into Dropbox, they take those stems, they put them into their DAW. Is that the way you guys record?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, geographically, we're pretty close. So they can come to the recording studio / rehearsal studio where I'm sitting right now, and we can drop things off pretty quickly. We can also we practice in the box, and so at any point that we wanted just to record something live, we can do that and then cut and paste it in later if we liked it or whatever. So there are many ways to do it. But yeah, I mean, we rehearse twice a week, um, sometimes only once a week.
Together all in the same room?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
do that
Well,
too.
great bunch of guys. I mean, speaking of doing it all yourself, we've started to offload. I mean, I've started to outsource uh, because it looks like what we're doing is working. But the problem with success is you can choke yourself with success, and I am not successful by any stretch of the imagination. But the
Well,
thing is,
I think you are. I mean, I don't know if
so
when
it's
you say
relative.
successful, I mean, I'm not talking about monetarily. I'm talking about in terms of popularity.
Sure,
Your material came to me from listening to playlists on Sweet Boosts, which is by DC of the Flying Beats.
correct.
Okay, that's how I found you.
Right, right, and a marvelous organization, and the work that DC and John and all of those folks that are in the background there that are doing. It's just a phenomenal uh, asset for the
The
indie.
community. That's the thing. That's what I'm trying to do here is build a community. Maybe 65 or 68 subscribers. And I never ask anyone ever to subscribe to my channel. I want to
Right,
grow it organically. I want people to every episode that this uh docu-series has had has comments under it. I had people really excited over every episode on Saturday night. And I just moved here, as I told you. This place was
right,
a
right.
shambles. I don't know if you saw my last episode last weekend. It was
Yeah, I think I did.
the
Yeah,
six
yeah.
minute one where I was showing you around my new place.
Right.
And I'm like, oh man, I owe you guys an episode tonight, but I don't know what to do. Someone said, I don't believe that you really can sing those high notes. And I did,
There
live.
you go. Yeah, yeah.
So
Perfect.
anyway, that was what I had. And anyway, I don't want to get off on that. But I'm very pleased to hear that you would like to be involved in that, and I'm going to talk with a
Sure.
lot of people that have been on the show. I'm pretty sure the Dashing Skull Club would like to get involved in that. Probably. Well, okay, we'll stop there. I want to get back to the Fall Dogs.
Sure.
Now,
So yeah, you were asking about the guys getting involved. So the project
yeah,
is sort of an inverse project. Uh, so if you want to be an indie artist, very difficult to attract other artists to play, sort of play with you, live genre, live domain, I should say. And so to get a good high caliber of musicians interested, I think you have to have something sort of credibility, developed already. So many over the years, so many times people, present their own music to the band, so to speak, and it's rejected because it doesn't seem legitimate. There's some weird, distance between, well, we couldn't possibly do that.
you mean like the vision of the band itself?
Yeah. Whether it's, I don't know whether, it's just some sort of marketing inspired pedestalization of, Robert Plant and Jimmy Page or whatever. And speaking of antiquated artists, but,
That's not antiquated.
These
Well,
demigods of entertainment, and we couldn't possibly be that good. Well, you'll never get anywhere if you don't produce your own music,
exactly.
so to speak.
Exactly.
I mean, as an indie artist, you'll never get anywhere anyway. So, and I heard another one of your guests saying, and I related to it, that, well, you used to play a couple of originals, slip them in almost as if you were embarrassed of them, Right. So in getting back into it and getting back into writing, and I'm thinking, okay, I have a bunch of songs, and
Dennis,
I wrote in, and we produced music, in the 70s and probably through the 80s a little bit. It never really went anywhere. We weren't smart enough to get it going anywhere, and so those songs were still around, and people had liked them. They were popular, but just on a very localized, spatial.
Were you more popular in Canada or in the United States?
No, Canada. Just I'm talking like what we call southwestern Ontario, which is up. It's a little bit south of some of the northernmost parts of California. So yeah, if you're a geography nerd. So but just very small market. Nothing life sustaining. They could pay for your bar bill and your laundry, but you never. That was it. I could pay for that. I had a beat up old car. What do you call a musician without a girlfriend?
A gremlin? No, just kidding.
Yeah, without a girlfriend, you call him homeless. So so that's where we were at. But I collected. I capped all the cassette tapes and everything, and the scribblings and such. And so I got back into it. I produced. It's so much easier now to produce. I mean, the last recording stuff I used was Tascam Porta 1, with a cassette tech with 1/8-inch tape, trying to get 4 tracks on it and continuing to bounce and bounce and bounce and bounce. And
LAL.AI. Wow. I've got stuff on cassette that I had 24 tracks mixed down to.
Right.
And it separates them all like magic. I didn't even know that stuff existed until like about a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
The evolution of music and digital, the DAW.
Yeah, it's
phenomenal.
Oh yeah. And I mean, it has. I mean, optimistically, yeah. I mean, I wrote these songs, produced these songs, played all the parts myself, and put stuff together. And, to get a publishing deal, well, you just have to send your music off to somebody. It's published, and on it goes to Spotify. There is still probably an advantage to having a recording contract, but they are diminished, and the gatekeeper function that the record companies used to exercise is gone. You know, if you want to make some music, unless it's at a very, very weirdly low quality standard, you're going to be able to publish it and put it online to make it available for people to listen to. And so what's your point? You know, is that is mostly, I think, the objective of musicians is they would like people to hear their art. You know, it's an oral thing. Now there is a visual aspect to it. Well, you can go and make your own videos if you got a cell phone.
I'm planning on that this year because I think that that's part of the problem of putting out music, particularly on streaming platforms like YouTube or even Spotify to a degree. I know they have some music videos there.
Right.
I was watching another band on, I think it was YouTube, an indie artist that's, you know, in our circle of our community that we're building. They did the most amazing video, levitation, flying into the air. I was blown away. I wrote to them. I says, how did you do that? And they sent me a YouTube video saying, watch this video. It'll tell you how to do that.
Right.
Okay. But I mean, it's not easy. You know, you've got to have a few people to work with you because you can't do stuff like that alone.
No, but I mean, the thing is, the point being that, you know, not to get too granular on the production, but you can do it. I mean, you could just set up a phone and play your acoustic guitar and produce a video, you know, live if you want to. So technology, huge leaps forward. So I was able to put together, you know, some videos and some music, gain some popularity, get some radio play for, you know, I went first year, you know, 0 radio play, second year, 170 spins in 365 days. Last year, 530 spins on the radio.
That to me is success. That to me is success, right. Bill.
Right. And so now I have credibility to some degree, right? And then I can approach the artists that I want to have in the band, you know, because the end goal is, the objective is, how do you get into the indie domain and you know, make it a reasonable success? Well, you probably have to play live. That's
what Vanessa said. Vanessa and the Dashing Skull Club. If you're not playing live, it's very difficult to be known because you need a local audience as well as a global audience.
Yeah, it depends on your objectives. I mean, some people
I want it all.
Some people aren't able to play live, and I appreciate that. Some people don't want to play live, and I appreciate that. So our objective was to get, you know, a level of credibility, a level of success, and we equate success to how many people enjoy your music and would want to come out and see you, or would want to purchase your music, or at least listen to it.
You know, we got to wrap this up here, Phil. So you know what? I want to play, which is starting to come on right now. What was the name about Fame?
Oh yeah, Fame. Yeah. So yeah, you were interested in the parallel, or you know, maybe the connection, I don't know, loosely between Bowie and his song Fame and the Fall Dogs. I Don't Want to Be Famous.
And that's what we're hearing right now. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank Phil Cook and the Fall Dogs for being with me here on Indie Tea, Demos to Discovery.
Wow.
Stay tuned for our next episode. Phil, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thank you for having me.
Taking the time.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. It's been fantastic. Thank you for your
Better know not for me. I came into my arms and had his rehab bombs and all my drinks for free. The little Jimmy won't famous. Nope, he's just a regular guy. He thought the people should know. He gave the whistle a blow and now they call him a spy. Fame, I could handle it. Fame, I'd be so legit. fame, likes are all it takes to play the diet ego.